This is the Ibupan Ladax-2. I wanted to make a Separatist manned fighter, and that's the long and short of it. It's not like I identified a niche in the Separatist Navy that needed to be filled. They had hordes of ultra droids and little need for organic pilots to enter combat in light interceptors. With that being said, this is my first project of this kind, and I'm satisfied with it. I'll go over the design process and then the lore I came up with for this ship. The Separatists don't have many models of manned fighters, the main two being the Prox-38 and the Lab-22. The Nantex and the Zenuas-33 are made by locals for their local forces and not much part of the larger CIS Navy, and the Guinevex was made specifically for Ventress. The Lab-22 only makes the cut in my book because it appears in Star Wars Galaxies as a rebel fighter, and it somewhat appeared in Battlefront 2, although it was later identified as the Lab-24. I like how you can one-shot Anakin Starfighter, that's what if I'd like to see. With that being said, even if it's just these two, I observed a number of characteristics in common, and I started from there. I wanted it to be unique and made it asymmetrical. Although CNR fighters and Corellian freighters have cockpits on the right, this ship has no relation to them, so its cockpit is on the left. I pondered on what the engine should look like, as I wanted it to be original and at the same time communicate that this is a Separatist starfighter. And these nacelles that could look like vulture droid wings with this bulbous engine seemed very fitting to me. The name came from observing a number of words in what I imagined to be Utapis or Utai, and trying to come up with something similar and believable. Ibupan Ladax to me was a peculiar looking fish, extinct since oceans in Utapau receded to the underground, but well known on the planet because of its appearance and the abundance of their fossils. Without further ado, this is its story. The Ibupan Ladax-2 is 13.80 meters long and 11.9 meters wide, made 1 year after the start of the Clone Wars. As Dooku's discourse inspired many to fight for the Confederacy, and with the Separatist leadership focusing on almost exclusively droid force, the CIS received a considerable amount of volunteers it was virtually unprepared to equip. Turning to Fetal Otrol Scalable Assemblies, a Techno-Union subsidiary, and Buper Trotsky-able devices, both based on Utapau, they were tasked to produce an agile craft more durable than the V-19 Torrent and too nimble for the Y-Wing. The result was the Ibupan Ladax-2, a competent dogfighter armed with 2 laser cannons, modest shielding, a simple hyperdrive and 4 engines, making it fast and maneuverable. It was designed very quickly but very cautiously as well, making sure the rushed design wouldn't hide any sort of catastrophic flaw, which made the craft reliable but also underpowered for its size. One would imagine that efforts would be made throughout the war to develop upgrades for retrofitting these vehicles, but Separatist logistics and warships weren't very accommodating for organic pilots, so the Ibupan Ladax-2 saw little action with Beneficents, Providences, Rexants, and Luckerhawks, and more with local planetary forces sympathetic to the Separatist cause, a theater of the war the Separatist leadership didn't see as a priority. Often in these situations, veteran pilots would be given Prox-38s, a heavier craft but with a very similar interface. Not only that, the Techno-Union attempted to undercut Pilker TA devices. With much data learned from the Ibupan Ladax-2 deployment, the Fleet NOS assemblies developed the Menkwin 814 Light Interceptor, a craft that fulfilled a similar role. Ironically, it was this betrayal and disconnection from the Techno-Union that saved the Utapau Company and its designs. The forced nationalization of the Techno-Union following the rise of the Empire and the occupation of Utapau resulted in the seizing of much of Fleet NOS assemblies hardware and the dissolution of the company. Pilker TA Devices was free to manufacture and sell its fighters, under the scrutiny of the Empire, of course. Since Sinar Fleet Systems and Sigma Spaceworks were the Empire's preferred options for a small spacecraft, the Utapau Company sold usually to its now symbolic planetary garrison and to other small defense forces or private groups only partially affiliated with the galactic government. It was, however, seen as a cheap, less than ideal option because of its fragility and lack of versatility. Some ended in the hand of criminals, and although it saw action with some rebel cells, the A-Wing was considered a better option for the role of interceptor by the Alliance as a whole, not only being more agile and armed with missiles, but also having a more compact profile. And that was the Ibupan Ladax-2. Thank you for watching this, my first project of this kind, and I hope you didn't find it too crude or amateur. I have many ideas for future projects, and you can help me realize them by supporting me on Patreon. There you have access to the models I make, access to polls to determine future projects, and more. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next videos. Goodbye.